samajkoawaj.com.
The history of the Anglo-Nepal War at the Battle of Jaithak, people named differently. However, this whole area was under Nepal before the Anglo-Nepal War, commanded by Kazi Ranojit Singh Thapa. I already talked about while the Major General Martindale, the British general, comes up to just 10 kilometers away from the Nahan Palace, Nahan Fort. Then after, Kazi Ranojit Thapa, he vacates that palace, that fort in Nahan. So he orders to build the forts in this area with other many dealing positions. And finally, the big two forts erected over here with a military significance. And when the fort was vacated in Nahan, then Major General Martindale arrives without any interference up to that fort. And he conducts the battle, the offensive battle from there. And his two commanders, namely Major Ludo and the second, William Richard, Major William, these two figures are very prominent at this battle. The first is Major General Martindale, the next is Major Ludo, and the another is Major General William Richard. These are the three characters. The battle runs after these people's periphery. And later on, the Colonel Mabi from Nalapani area, after the Battle of Kaulanga, he also arrives with big troops here to link up with the Major General Martindale. The capacity, military might was strengthened to launch attack against these areas, against the Gurkhalis. And the link up was made on 19 December 1814. It was after almost 2 weeks of the end of the Kalanga battle, the Nalapani battle. And the arrival of Major General Martindale was on 24 December 1814 at the Nahan Fort, Nahan Palace. And Major General Martindale thinks the tactics of encirclement, the blockade, rather having the frontal attacks against the Gurkhali troops. He knew already about the guerrilla tactics of a Nepalese army. He was pretty much scared of that tactics. And really, Nepalese were very brave in that tactics. They had proven it. And Major General Martindale, he selects two hillocks, two hillocks. On my right, almost 1,500 meters from here in aerial distance, I could say 2,000 meters from here, it's the right side. The Britishers named it as a Peacock Hill. That was Peacock Hill on my right, and on my left, it is almost 1,500, the next hillock. It was named as a left hillock. So, Martindale wanted to capture these two hillocks first as a foothold, as a base to launch attack against these two forts. So it was the initial plan. And the task was given to, the Ludo was given the left side hillock. The target, Ludo target, Major Ludo target was the left side's hillock, hilltop. And Major Richard's target was given to the Peacock Hill. So, as per the plan, almost 1,000 troops was given to Major Ludo to my left. Almost 700 troops were given to Major Richard to capture in order to capture these areas. The assault advance started already. It was on 26 December 1814. The assaultive advance started in order to capture these two hillocks. And in between the areas, Nepalese army laid several ambushes, several dealing positions, and they encountered against the Britishers, killed so many. And the Nepalese army made luring tactics. The British were provided chances to occupy, to capture some target areas like some forts also. And in between, Major Ludo was able to arrive in the area of this left hillock. He was about to arrive here, and Major Richard, it was quite far from his start point. So it took long time, and next morning at 11 o'clock, his advance team arrives on top of the Peacock Hill. But in between the advance of Major Ludo's, the Gorkhali troops, they ambushes several Britishers at the Kathe Gadi, somewhere it was in between. And that was like a honey trap. It's a luring tactics. And then after, in between, the Britishers, the Gorkhali troops launched counterattacks, including 3 officers, 2 officers, and other 150 other ranks were killed. Surprising, it was big surprise for Major Ludo. He was under big surprise, senseless. So he started fleeing from the battleground, and the Gorkhalis started chasing after them. So it was big disaster to the British army and Major Ludo finally, and he himself was wounded by the rolling stones. On the other hand, Major William Richards, he was about to be arrived on top of Peacock Hill, but he had some scarcity of the ammunitions. Even in the start time, he asked more ammunition with Major General Martindale, and it was not available at that time. And Martindale promised him to provide as soon as possible and ordered him to start marching his advance. He did it. After a few hours, almost 10 hours, Martindale he sent logistic supports with ammunition and rations in order to provide support to the Major Richards team. But the porters, they were confused, and they made ambush. They were under ambush of the Gorkhali troops, and almost 60,000 bullets were confiscated by the porters, and so many British army were killed at that time. So it was a big loss for the Major Richards team. So while the Nepalese army look at the Peacock Hill from here in the morning at 8 o'clock, so they started marching towards that side with the drums beating, with their flags, colors. So they started marching from here and started firing from the guns also, cannons. They kept firing, launch attacks more than 10-15 times up to 7:30 p.m. Look at it, it was almost 12 hours attack. It was very long time, continuous attack, a defensive battle, counter-attack, I could say counter-attack, spoiling attacks. And finally, Major Richard was, in a big surprise. And he could not get the ammunition on time, even the rations. The scarcity of ammunition was big with the Major Richard. So still he asked some reinforcement from Nahan. He made a request to Major Martindale, but that was not made or done by Martindale. Rather, he ordered to Major Richard to be withdrawn from that position, not to fight with the Gorkhali troops. Again, Major Richard, he had big surprise. Why? His commander made that order, that type of order. However, he wanted to fight. He was on the vantage point at that time. It is there. But order is order. So, in between, there were so many ambushes of the Gorkhali troops on the way back to Nahan. In the meantime, he started his withdrawal with the lay-back positions. Yes, in the meantime, Gorkhali started firing against them, several ambushes. So, Richard had tough time. Many troops, they started deserting, killing, and many were wounded. So in the meantime, because Nepalese troops had a high morale, they already killed many hundred troops of Major Ludo, confiscated weapons and ammunition. They had that guts. Main thing is your confidence. Weapon is nothing, but your confidence, your morale, it's a big thing. So, after defeating, killing Major Ludo's troops, Nepalese had very good confidence. So, they launched several ambushes, attacks against Major Richards. I talked about 10-15 times Nepalese made attack. And then after, while Major Richard's troops started withdrawing, the chasing from behind the troops and killing them resulted at final. Nepalese killed 3 officers, captains and lieutenants, Thakur, Wilson and Stuttgart, the officer's name, and other 78 troops. Total number of the killed person was 81, and more than 300 were wounded. It was big loss for them, and Major Richard was highly disappointed. Again, Major Richard and Major Ludo, they made request with Major Martindale to launch next campaign, next attack against these 2 forts. And even the other ranks, other troops, they were ready to fight. But Major Martindale was not ready. In this regard, the troops were not happy with Martindale, and they named him as a coward general. very weak general. However, very forcefully, again, Major Richard tried to come to capture this Peacock Hill in order to attack against these two forts. Finally, so he started his march towards the Peacock Hill again. It was on 1st April 1815. He was courageous man. He was courageous military officer. He was a brave. And he was on the way to Peacock Hill. In between, Nepalese army again led several ambushes, killed several British Indian armies. In between, Nepalese commander Kazi Ranajor had also not favorable situation because the British had imposed blockade of the rations, ammunitions, other logistic supports, and the encirclement was made, and he had a hard time. On top of that, the locally recruited armies from Kumaon, Gadwal and these Sirmur areas were not exactly loyal to the Nepalese government and Nepalese army. So they started deserting to join the British army. So they started it. And that was big loss. They provided valuable military intelligence information to the Britishers. That was big loss. So the situation were not exactly favorable to the Britishers, as well as to some extent lesser to the Kazi Ranajor Thapa at this fort. And the situation was, not good for both sides. However, the battle kept going. In the meantime, Kazi Ranajor Singh Thapa, he receives a letter, an order from his father, Bada Kazi Amar Singh. That was to stop the battle and handing over the areas, vacating all the areas to the Britishers voluntarily. That was why, because Major General David Ochterlony and Bada Kazi Amar Singh Thapa, they made an agreement at the Malaung Fort after the death of Sardar Bhakti Thapa. The situation was very worrisome there. So Bada Kazi was compelled to sign an agreement. And there are several clauses. One of the clauses says, Bada Kazi Ranajor Thapa should vacate these areas, and he would be provided security and his personal belongings, as well as and march towards to the Doti areas beyond the Makali River. So it was a compulsion. He was in big surprise. At that time, in the eastern side, Kumaon areas, Nepal was defeated already, and Chautare Bamsa, he already made an agreement with the Britishers, and he already was back to the Doti areas. On the other hand, towards the western side, the Satluj areas, the Malawi areas also very, very worsened. Almost we lost all the battles, and we are compelled to sign an agreement on 15 May 1815. So look at, it was the order, but Kazi Ranajor Singh Thapa was never defeated by the Britishers. He fought for 1 year, 7 months, and 9 days here. No Britisher could hamper him No Britisher could become victor over these areas. He was the real heroes, but the history is very misty. The Britishers also haven't written about the Ranojit Thapa. Even the Nepalese writers, Nepalese government, Nepalese military, almost they have forgotten to our hero of the Jaithak battle, Kazi Ranojit Thapa. He was really brave. And finally, I would like to pay my sincere thanks to Kunwar Ajay Bahadur Singh, the royal family member and the owner of these two forts. He helped me a lot. I really thank you, sir. Also, I also would like to repeat about these two forts. Before handing over these areas to the British Major Martindale, he made our terms and condition was Kazi Ranojit Singh Thapa wanted to hand over to give this two forts to the local king, as a souvenir from the Nepal. So Major Martindale also ready to keep it. So it has become personal property in present days. At the end, my salute goes to Kazi Ranojit Singh Thapa, who was the victor. But he lost this area by his father's order, and it was the order of the Nepal government. And finally, those heroes who died for the sake of Nepal, you are really martyrs. My salute go to you. And we Nepalese people, we have to look after our history. Please find out our history. Where our ancestors, do not make silly or joker to our ancestor martyr like Prithvinarayan Saha, Bahadur Saha, Queen Rajendra Lakshmi, Kalu Pandey, Kazi Shivram Singh Basnyat, Abhiman Singh Basnyat, Kher Singh Basnyat, Damdar Pandey, Bhakti Thapa, Ranojit Singh Thapa, Shuan Colonel Ranbir Singh Thapa, Colonel Ujit Singh Thapa, Kazi Bakhtabar Singh Thapa, so many. They were martyrs. Presently, we making them, we scholars, we politicians, to obtain the vote in order to become minister and prime minister. We making all our history black. It's not just. Please, let's respect to our military martyrs. Really, I salute them again. Jai Nepal.